Back in southern Ontario means Justin Trudeau is back face-to-face with angry protesters. These people certainly won't be voting Liberal, but the party has a bigger challenge more broadly, getting those who will out to the polls.
There seems to be a slight advantage for the Conservative Party among those older voters in terms of Conservative older voters being more committed to voting than Liberal older voters.
Ipsos pollster Daryl Bricker says the most important demographic trend is not about party, but turnout.
Even at the best of times, Canadians are never very enthusiastic about an election, so I understand the frustration.
Experts say that frustration is also a problem for potential Liberal voters.
Potentially voting for another party, but more likely just saying, you know what, I'm just going to sit this one out. I actually don't even think it's safe for me to go vote. I forgot to register for a mail-in ballot.
From day one, Trudeau has refused to say he's out to win a majority. He came the closest to that admission on day 34.
I'm not going to engage in hypothetical questions right now. We are focused on winning every seat.
I think Trudeau's dreaming. And I don't think expressing that sentiment actually contributes to swinging votes.
Saying it clearly or not, pushing for a majority means targeting tight races in the final push.
In the 905, they're particularly critical because it's a vote-rich area, and it's often determined whether you get a Liberal or Conservative government, and whether that government is minority or majority.
The Liberals are spending all day Friday and part of the final weekend targeting tight races in southern Ontario and the 905, both seats they think they can pick up and ones they're in danger of losing in fights with both Conservatives and the NDP. Abigail Bimman, Global News, London, Ontario.
I know Premier's names.
He knows their names, yet he still won't say Jason Kenney's name or comment on whether or not Alberta's Premier could have done a better job managing the COVID-19 pandemic in that province. As recently as Sunday, the federal Conservative leader praised his provincial counterpart. Even though Kenney has admitted mistakes, O'Toole won't weigh in.
In our collective fight against COVID-19, I will work with provinces and premiers of all political stripes.
It was like he'd never heard of the guy. Jason who? I don't know who this Jason guy is.
Political science professor Dwayne Bratt says O'Toole is in a tough spot because Kenney's support helped make him leader of the federal Conservatives. But the COVID-19 crisis in Alberta is hurting the Tories, and that could mean fewer seats in that province.
You could have a very bizarre situation where Erin O'Toole actually picks up seats in other parts of the country and loses them in his base. And if he does, it's not necessarily because of O'Toole, it's because of Jason Kenney.
A part of the problem is vote splitting with the far-right People's Party of Canada. It's likely why O'Toole has been trying to hammer home a new message to Canadians.
There are many parties in this race, but there's really only two choices. More of the same with Mr. Trudeau or Canada's Conservatives.
Now, that black and white choice is key in motivating voters, according to this Conservative strategist.
It is about making sure that those who have shown they're accessible to voting for you are actually going to turn up on election day, especially given how long lines are going to be.
O'Toole's team believes getting to those voters is better by bus, so they've ditched the plane and will concentrate campaigning in the vote-rich Toronto and Southern Ontario regions, hoping it will pave the way to forming government. Farah?
Michael Couture in Brantford, Ontario. Thank you, Mike.
In the affable style that has become his signature, Jagmeet Singh makes his way to convince students in Sherbrooke, Quebec to vote for his party.
Okay. On marche ensemble.
It's the first time the NDP leader has been to this riding during the campaign. How attainable are these three ridings for the New Democrats?
We're very hopeful. We're very excited. Very optimistic.
The NDP's popularity in Quebec has sunk from a decade ago when it was at its peak. The Liberals won Sherbrooke in 2019, and they took Sackville then.
How are you feeling, Halifax?
Halifax, too.
They're trying to pick up seats in areas where they're not present at the moment.
But there's methods to this last bit of campaigning in these ridings, says a former NDP strategist.
It sends a positive message elsewhere in the country that you're campaigning in seats where, at the beginning of the campaign, people would think you did not have a chance to win.
Up next, Saskatoon. For a riding the NDP lost by less than 3,000 votes in 2019. Then it's off to Edmonton for the one riding the party secured the last time around in a province that is traditionally true blue. Robin Gill, Global News, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia.